Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another lesson for grade 7 bio. And in this lesson, we are going to start our unit 7, and we will learn about classification of the living things. We have lot of different groups of animals in which we divide them, and purpose of this division is just to make the study easy. Now, what is classification and how we do this grouping? This we will learn in this lesson. Let's begin. First thing is to know about what is classification. Putting the living things into groups so that they can be studied is called classification. If we will not put the living things in a particular group, then it will become very hard to study them individually. Like in one school, we have different classes, and in each class, we make different sections. Just the purpose is to make the study process more easy, and it become more easy to divide the students into groups. In the same way, if all the living things will be in the one group, or we don't make any classification or grouping for them, then it becomes very hard to study about their properties, because there are millions of different types of animals and plants around us. Basically, all living things are classified into plants and animals. But to study them in one group will be a big headache, and even it will not be possible to study them in detail. And also there is a lot of resemblance between the properties of different animals and plants. So on the basis of similar properties, we put the animals in one group and on the differences in another group. So that is called classification. When we put them into the groups to study, we call it classification. Now, one vocabulary word that we will use a lot will be kingdom, like we will use the word animal kingdom or plant kingdom. A kingdom is the largest group in the classification system for living things. Like if we, whenever we will make the group, each group will have a largest group. Like all the living things are basically divided into two kingdoms. One kingdom is the plant kingdom, and another is animal kingdom. So this largest group will be declared as a kingdom. Here on the screen you can see two kingdoms in the classification of the living things. That will be the animal kingdom and plant kingdom. Now further, each kingdom is divided into different groups. Like if we talk about the plant kingdom and animal kingdom, they have certain features. On these features, on the basis of these properties, we divide into further groups. But first we need to know the basic differences between the plant kingdom and animal kingdom. So that will make us able to put them in the separate groups. And then there are the other properties for each animal kingdom and plant kingdom also. Like the main difference between the plant kingdom and animal kingdom is plants make their own food, but animal cannot make their own food. This is a major difference that uh, create a difference between the plant kingdom and animal kingdom. Second thing that make them different from each other is uh, plant. If you remember the unit cell, we study that in the plants the cells are made from the cellulose, but in animal there is no cellulose. They don't contain any cellulose. The hardness in the plants is provided by the cellulose, but in the animal there is no cellulose. So this is also a difference. Every plant will have the cellulose, but animal don't have the cellulose. Now plant have chlorophyll. This chlorophyll they use to make the food for the by photosynthesis. But animal don't have the chlorophyll, so animal cannot make their own food. And the last fourth difference, main difference between the plant and animal kingdom is plants stay in one place. The movement in the plant is different than the movement in the animal. Animal can move about. They can leave the place. They can go from one place to another place. But plants stay in one place. They will move toward the light, or they separate their leaves. That is a movement in them. But they cannot move from one place to another place. So these are all four differences, major features that divide these two kingdoms. And then in the animal kingdom, we divide animal kingdom into two large groups. Here we have one group is called vertebrate and other invertebrates. The animal kingdom is divided into two large groups. One is vertebrate group and other is invertebrate group. Now, what are vertebrates? The word vertebrate actually comes from the word vertebra. Now, vertebra is actually the backbone. Vertebra together make the backbone. So we say the vertebrates are those which have backbone. Till now, before this grade, normally to explain the student, it is said that vertebrates are those who have bones, and invertebrates are those who don't have bones. But here, when we will move to this unit, you will learn further about that. Why we are not using this term bone and not bone. Instead of that, we are saying backbone actually. So the group of animals, those have backbone, we call them vertebrates. And opposite to that, of course, here are the example like fishes, birds, frogs, snakes, and mammals. These are all belong to the vertebrate groups. We will study in detail in this unit about the vertebrates also. And the second group of the animal kingdom are invertebrates. Like invertebrate animals are those which don't have any backbone. Their examples include uh, starfish, sponge, obelia, worms, spider, insects, and there are many more other groups also that we have to discuss later on in the same unit. But majority of the animal, nearly 98% animals in the animal kingdom are invertebrates. Only 2 to 3%, approximately 2 to 3% are vertebrates. But normally, when a person is asked the name of animal, immediately in his mind the name will come about a vertebrate. The reason is the vertebrates are large in size and they are easily available around us. We know more about them instead of invertebrates. So that is why, although they are making majority of the animals invertebrates, but still uh, they will not be visible to us being smaller in the size and all these things. In coming lesson in this unit, we will learn about them. So this is what we have for today's lesson, the basic classification of the animals and plants. In next lesson, we will learn about the different groups of animals. So see you in next lesson.